Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators football podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by your other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how we feeling tonight? How's the vibes in Gaines, Vegas this evening?
B, what's going on, my man? We're doing great. We're thawing out from a couple of weeks ago. We're going to get a little bit of a cold spell here in the next couple of days, but all good. And I know you'll make reference to it, but Gator basketball is doing great. So overall, no complaints.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And you can take your cold weather and think that it's cold, but it's not cold compared to where I'm going to be. I'll be in Atlanta and Knoxville this week, so I'm going to beat you on the temperatures. But regardless of
Fair.
that,
Okay, fair.
so we are definitely interested in the progress of Gator basketball. I made a mention of it on the pod. Excuse me, on the Facebook post. And we are definitely keeping a close eye on this team. I think we are definitely going to have some conversations about it come March. So I would say you can go ahead and plan on that for a little bit in our next episode. I've had some people give us some feedback that they would like to see that. So I think we're going to include a little bit come our next episode, get a little detailed breakdown of this Gators basketball team who is currently up 9 on Oklahoma early. So there you go. With that, let's get into things for the football podcast for tonight, because that is going to be what we talk about this evening. So, as always, we will give you our intro, our mission, our accuracy disclaimer, and our vision and our agenda. For our agenda this evening, we will be just talking about the positional group breakdowns. So all the different positional groups from the offense and defensive side of the football. And we will relate this, of course, to the last pod where we kind of looked at the final class overall and what that looked like and how we are going to progress into the 2025 season, right? So that will be kind of the purpose of what we're doing here and how it ties into what we were talking about during our last episode. We'll look at not only, of course, that recruiting class and the transfer portal class as it pertains, but also we will look into, returning starters, depth pieces, things of that nature. So we'll kind of try to examine everything at each position group and give you a little feedback on, is it better, is it worse, or is it the same as last season? And we'll go from there. So with that, our intro, as always, our mission is to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football and soon to be Florida Gator basketball, but for now, Florida Gator football. Our accuracy disclaimer is our information will be accurate to the best of our abilities. We will cite our sources whenever we use them, and all statistical data comes from either ESPN or stats.ncaa.org, and recruiting data comes from on3.com. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field or the court, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film, and while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also evaluate strategy and tactics and discuss our observation of player personnel decisions as well as on-the-field execution. I'm going to start timing that and see how long it takes me to get through. But to that end, as I already mentioned, we are going to kick things off and do a review. We're going to start with defense and go by positional group on defense. So I will turn that over to you, sir, and let you get started on the D line. Give me your take on where we stand on the defensive line of things going into 2025.
For sure. You got to be. Um, so D line, right? We're talking about whether or not these positional groups are better, neutral, or worse. For better or for worse. It sounds like a marriage ceremony. But either way, just a quick recap. What we're losing, if you want to call it losing, right?
Yeah.
Big Des, we got a little bit of weight that we're losing there at 425
We're
pounds.
we're losing a fair amount of weight between Dez and Cam Jackson here.
Right.
That's about
Look,
750 pounds, I believe.
that's all. A little. But yeah, Des is gone. Cam's gone. Uh, the one known as Pyburn, whatever, Ultimate Ninja Warrior, or whatever he was trying to do with that eye makeup. Kelby Collins.
Jake Plyburn, baby.
Oh yeah, Plyburn. That's right. From Slate Farm. Kelby Collins, TJ Searcy, Joey Slackman. Of course, we didn't see a whole lot of Joey more towards the end of the season, not. But that's what we no longer have going into 25. Here's
Yeah, but
what we do
that's a
have.
list of guys. So before you do that, let's look at that. We lose Searcy,
Yep.
we lose Pyburn, we lose Jackson and Watson to the draft, of course, and
Right.
then we also lose. Oh, you just lost the last name out of my head. Which one did you just say?
Kelby.
Kelby, yes, to transfer as well. So that's a fair amount of losses if you look at just overall players and like star rankings and things of that nature. Like that's a fair amount that we're losing there. So this is not to be taken lightly, I wouldn't say. So anyway, continue from there.
Correct. So, as far as what we have to look forward to, we've got Kayla Banks coming back. We
Yes, we
have
do.
Tyreek Sapp coming back.
Yes, we do.
Um, and the other thing that I think people, and again, I forgot about it as well until I was doing my write up, is we lost someone in significant fashion a month before the season to a broken ankle,
Yes, we
and that
did.
was
Yes, we did.
Jamari Lyons. So
Yes,
he's
we
coming
did.
back. Again, a broken ankle, no small task. It was significant, but allegedly he is progressing very well and is going to be on opening day roster. So as long as he stays healthy, he should be there. Anyways, outside of that, finalizing the line, heading out to the edges, whatever. We've got George Gums. We have LJ McCray. We have Makai Burrow. We have DeAndre Robinson. And then in there somewhere, we've got Cameron James and a couple of others. But the reason why I pointed out those names in particular, as you all know, they got significant playing time this season, big contributions, big contributions. And it really was a unique line that saw a lot of different formations, a lot of different lineups. And the other thing that's and typically we go down into the analytics of this, but here's my one analytic for the evening. I know
Yeah.
it's based off everything else, but Gums, Sap, and Banks combined for 16 and a half sacks last fall.
Wow.
Very solid.
It's a nice
Very
stat.
solid.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty good.
I was actually seeing what we lost, but seeing what we got on board. I'm on the line on this one. I'm going to go with your term, coin flippy, between neutral and better. But for me, I'm going to call it better.
Okay. So we talked last year about this D line and how deep they were, right? We talked about in the preseason, if you remember, it could be like I think if I remember from our apprehensions and anticipations of the season, we had could be good. Was exciting, but it was also a bit of an apprehension because we didn't know if it was really going to be what we wanted it to be or we thought it could be. So it's funny because we kind of called it, right? Because to start off the season, it was not what we wanted it to be, right? It hit the apprehensions meter pretty hard, right? But then moving forward, it actually hit the anticipation meter instead, right? Because it got a lot better as the season went along. And I think that's very interesting, right? So hats off to Gerald Chapman here. Really nice job coaching these guys up, both in the offseason, but even more so throughout the season, right? And finding the right lineups that worked and really made an impact. So it's interesting, seriously, we talked about all the transfers. If there's one room we could afford to have a fair amount of transfers from, this was it because we had so much depth here. So you made the point Banks, Gums, and Sapp, all starters last season at one point or another, all returning. Huge. Cameron James, impact player on that line as well, returning. So significant on both of those, on all of four of those counts. And the interesting thing about the depth opening up is we are given the opportunity here to potentially get more playing time for one LJ McCray. And that is something that I'm very interested to see because while he did show up last season and get on the field a little bit, he was not as impactful as I would think that we maybe thought he could be with his size, strength, and physicality as a freshman. But, he was still a freshman. So what does this look like moving forward? We will see, but I'm interested to see that. When we talk about interior defensive line, you mentioned losing Jackson and Watson, but we replaced them with Micah Burrow and DeAndre Robinson, both who played some last year, but not a ton, but both who looked pretty good when they played. So
yeah.
very interested to see how that works out. And to your point, maybe best of all, getting back Jamari Lyons. Also, one I'm going to call out here that kind of gets swept under the radar, but who actually had a pretty good season when he played via Pro Football Focus and the stats. I don't have the numbers, but I know they were decent, is Brian Taylor. So we talked about Brian Taylor as this JUCO transfer, and I'll tell you what, he lived up to the billing. Like he was a pretty good edge rusher. So interesting to see him coming back and what impact he can provide. overall, we still have strong starters. We still have decent depth. It may not be slightly, it may be quite as good as it was last season. However, I think the starters and their experience and understanding the system and what to do and make this just slightly better because we still have enough depth. We just don't have as much, but it's enough that I think, barring some significant injuries in camp or anything else throughout the season, that we're probably still in a pretty good place here when you look at the fact that three of our top performers, as you mentioned, are coming back to start again in the same system, same scheme, same format, everything else, right? I think that's going to be hugely beneficial here. And it's the only reason I can rate this stronger than last season, or better than last season, I should say. And realistically, it's not much better, but it's a little better, I think, because of that returning experience. So there you go. All right, moving along. Linebacker. God, this continues to be a fun thing to talk about. Even with the departure of Shamar, this continues to be a really fun conversation to have. So your starters are likely going to be Pup, Howard, and excuse me, I said Ernest Graham, Miles Graham.
Miles,
went,
yep.
went back about 20 years. My bad. But those are likely going to be your starters, and I think that is going to be pretty off the charts when you look at those as starting two linebackers. I think Childs will see significantly more playing time this year, and I think Jaden Robinson will continue to see good playing time. It is possible Robinson even fights for a starting spot. He was outstanding last year. He's probably our most underrated player last year. Best tackler on the team, hands down. He had the least missed tackles of anybody on the team. And he was absolutely just very, very solid, even though he was, I believe, a redshirt freshman last season. Correct me if I'm wrong on that if you know. But he was really, really good as a very young player, right? So very, very impressive with him. I'm also interested to see with the freshman addition of Ty Jackson, who is a very promising recruit, if he gets in and gets a little playing time, kind of like Graham and Childs, maybe more so Childs, because he saw a little less time on the field. If it's more like that, but still, again, we've got talent, we've got depth, and now we have experience as well, and that's tough to beat. So I'm really loving this linebacking core moving forward. I have to call it better, even without Shamar. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you, B. Great analysis there. I've got, and here's the thing, Shamar. I think we talked about this. We did not anticipate Shamar having a subpar season. I mean, am I wrong in saying we were surprised he went to the draft?
No, you're definitely not wrong by my standards. I was shocked he went to the
Okay.
draft after the season he
Yeah.
had. Floored.
And figure, obviously in 23 it was tough, and the whole kneecap issue, Everbank Field, darn you to heck, and kneecap surgery and coming back, and I don't know, I didn't get the 24 that I thought he was going to have. Anyways, it is what it is. Outside of that, Wingo, okay, whatever, Mo, okay, whatever, but I'm with you. Pop Howard showed us so much last year, so much body of work in such a short period of time. I expect him to ball out this year. And either way, if it's going to be Pup and Jaden or Pup and Miles, either way, you've got Jaden and then Aaron Childs there in the waiting. So that's going to be a phenomenal combination. So I have nothing more to say except for that's going to be an absolute better for me because I really don't see. And again, no discredit to Shamar. He was the quarterback of that unit, quarterback defense for a long time. He was trusted. He's a smart, intelligent guy. But for whatever reason, he just, unless he had too much on his mind to worry about positionally, which is why he could not do what he needed to do, I think this is a huge upgrade because when you look at the physicality, the speed, and the agility between Howard, Graham, and Robinson that we saw this past fall, yeah, it can't not be better for me.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. I mean, even though again, I can't say that the overall talent ranking, right, of the room went up. I think when you look at, again, experience, talent, playing time, things of this nature, right? Robinson played a lot last year, right? He played a lot. So did Pup until he
Mhm.
got hurt, right? So, I mean, these guys have experience. They're battle tested now. They both showed to be excellent linebackers. And then on top of it, Graham started to get some playing time at the end of the season and looked outstanding. And even Childs coming in from, kind of situationally then, but he looked really good too. God, Childs is huge, man. Like he is a
That is a
big guy
man
out
child.
there. big
Yeah.
guy out there. So really interested to see what this looks like coming back, and excited for it, even with some of the freshmen coming in as well. So, all right, moving on. Let's talk safety. Fire away. What you got?
Let's look at the safety position, right? So let's take a look at what is no more, right? Trequez Bridges, I know he transferred over or whatever, but he made a phenomenal Gator. He just
Yeah,
did. The way
absolutely.
right, the way he went about his work, his demeanor, just especially what they asked him to do late in the season. And if those of you who don't remember, asking him to change a position and
Yep.
go from safety to
To corner.
corner,
Yep.
obviously with Marshall going down and then Devin Moore being the ever-present injury bug, catching that often, right? So you've got Trequez, then DJ Douglas, right? So that's going to be gone there.
Yep.
Um, outside of that, in this room, I'm looking towards
Well,
people
now,
like,
I'm sorry. Can I back you up? One there we will miss. One there we will not. Just saying.
oh, fair point. Fair point. I mean, I don't disagree. So looking at this room, who are we looking forward to? We're looking forward to Jordan Castell. Now, here's the thing about Jordan. Jordan, we've talked about Jordan a time or two or 10 or 100. He's underwhelmed at times, but he has an opportunity to make up for that because now he's going to be the senior guy there. He's going to be in charge because after James, essentially, then you had Jordan as that young up and comer. So he's got, as coach would say, he has a lot of scar tissue, right? So we've got Jordan Castell. Outside of that, we have Sharif Denson. Outside of that, you've got Bryce Thornton. Outside of that, you've got Gregory Smith, which
Yes.
Gregory Smith, that's one I'm really excited for. I don't know about you, B.
Same. Same.
Extremely excited for Gregory Smith. Josiah Davis, we saw sporadically last year, not consistently. Apparently, Josiah is having a great offseason, training, so on and so forth. Right? We added Hilton Stubbs. Again, true freshman coming out of Mandarin. Hilton's more likely not going to play, right? But there might be some situational
I
opportunities
don't
to
know.
bring.
I don't know. I won't throw it out. Him and Laganza both could potentially play here. I'm not going to rule it out.
Oh, you mean Shady? Yeah. Anyways, and then the other thing too we got to figure out is B. What's your status on Asa? Right? He's applied for the
So
medical
yes,
red shirt,
all
but
I
he
know
hasn't
is he
gotten it.
applied for the medical red shirt. I do not know if it was granted. I do not know what the situation is. I mean, as far as we know, he's not in the portal or anything. So the expectation
Nope.
would be he comes back. But now that Will Harris leaves, who was his guy, I don't
Right.
know where we stand with him. It's very much a question mark. Very much a
It's
question
just
mark.
wild. He goes down in the second quarter of the first game of the year, and it's almost as if we don't hear from him ever again. And
Yeah.
then it turns out, oh, hey, he's going to apply for a medical red shirt. Oh, hey, he had hamstring surgery. He did?
Yep.
Uh, so it was just wild. But anyways, I look at this room. I look at what we lost. Great point there. One we will miss, one we will not. It's okay though. But looking at that room as a whole, for me, because of what's up and coming, because of the scar tissue that's in Castell, that's in Denson, that's in Thornton, some of that experience there, and of course, Gates coming up, Smith coming up. Really looking forward to see him. For me, that safety room and safety is very, very key for me right now. I don't know if the scar tissue is enough. So for me, that room right now is a neutral.
Interesting. Interesting. So I have a similar take, but also different. So here we go. So great call
Fair enough.
outs. I think Castell and Thornton are likely your starters, based on seeing what happened last year, right? I think that's likely your starting two. But again, question mark on Asa. Don't know. Don't know what's going to happen there, and he could end up being. But I think you'll see more of, regardless, starter or not, Gregory Smith, as you mentioned, who looked very good in limited action last season. And I think the potential for Hilton Stubbs or Drake Stubbs, let me use the nicknames, Drake Stubbs and Shady Hayward to play is
There you
there.
go.
I think
Yeah.
because of the lack of depth in this room overall, it's not a lack of depth entirely, but it's a lack of depth without the freshmen, right? When you look at to take away the freshmen, right? You mentioned Josiah Davis and you mentioned Sharif and you didn't mention Aaron Gates, but he's there too. But really, that's not safety, that's nickel, right? For those
Nickel. Yeah.
three. So in all likelihood, they're going to rotate somewhere in some way at nickel, right? So ultimately, when you look at the true safeties, right, the strong safety and the free safety on the floor, I think that's more likely what you're going to see in terms of the rotation is Castell and Thornton starting, Gregory Smith backing up. You might see Josiah play some safety. He's got the capability of doing that. But then do we see some of these freshmen get involved as well more often, more frequently earlier on? I think the potential is definitely there for at least one of them. I don't know which one yet, but I think at least one of them. And then also I'll factor in, you bring in a new safeties coach, right? Sinceri, he's going to be your safeties coach now. And does that make a difference here? Because I think one of the things that was lacking last year was a real presence at that position, right? I think Armstrong was technically coaching it, but that's not his strong point, right? I don't love how that looked from a coaching standpoint last season. So where do we go from here, and what do we do in that regard? Well, now we have a dedicated, for sure, safeties coach in Sinceri, and it's a guy who played the position. Well, he played linebacker, but similar. And then coach the position at multiple different levels, right? So very interesting to see how that pans out. And if we don't see some improvement there, as you mentioned, I'd really like to see Castell get better, kind of return to his freshman form minus the bad tackling, right? Like that would be what I'd like to see there. Certainly in coverage, I'd like to see him get back to that. And overall, I have this, even though we lost some pieces, even though we lost some depth, even though, everything else, because of the gained experience of the starters, right, in Castell and Thornton, most likely, I'm going to say it's slightly better than it was, but honestly, it's not setting the bar that high because this position really let me down last year, right? This was not a strong position on this team last year at all. And I think they can and will be at least slightly better, maybe even significantly better. But again, this is not a high standard at this point. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but it's not. Safety play last year was by far and away the most disappointing thing I saw on the field. It did get better when Triquez started to start, but when we started out the year with Castell and Douglas back there, man, it was rough. Not good things that we see back there. So this is something where I definitely think we have the opportunity to get a fair amount better. So we'll see what happens, but that's my take. So with that, let's move on to corner. So we're not going to separate nickel out here. We already kind of mentioned the nickels in the previous segment, so we'll just talk about the actual edge corners here. And those starters, in all likelihood, are going to be Devin Moore and Dejon Johnson. Again, likely, can't guarantee it. That's what spring practice and fall practice are for, right? So we'll see what comes out of it. But assuming Devin is healthy, assuming Dejon does not have some kind of, regression or something, I would think that is the most likely scenario that we are going to see. So having said that, what do we have for depth pieces? Well, don't be surprised if we see Cormani McLean get some playing time as well as Ben Hanks, even though he's a freshman. I think both of those guys showed not both those guys. Cormani showed significant development last year. Ben Hanks, obviously a highly touted recruit, right? For those that don't know, he jumped up to a 5-star on the On3 industry ranking and really looks impressive. Again, we mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Set the Miami-Dade County record for interceptions in a season last year. That is no small feat when you look at the athletes that come out of Miami-Dade, right? So having said that, we also have depth pieces in Jamar Grimsley and Teddy Foster that we don't really know what their capabilities are exactly on the field. We haven't seen a ton of them. Grimsley played sparingly. I don't think I saw Teddy on the field at all. So potentially some promise there as well. So again, we have some depth, which is good and it's needed, right? However, overall, you lost Jason Marshall here. Even though he didn't play the whole season, you lost Jason Marshall here. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say weaker than last season, but not by much.
Do we have a not by much rating? I didn't think we have not.
No, we don't. But it's weaker. The answer is weaker. I know I keep kind of skimming the line. I'm cheating a little bit, but I am giving the ratings. I am giving the ratings for sure.
You know me. I cheat often enough and keep it or pitch it, so it's okay.
There you go. There you go.
I see it. Yeah, overall good, man. When you lose Marshall, Jakeem Jackson, transfer portal, whatever. But outside of that, my thing is I'm looking to Devin Moore to eat his Wheaties, to drink more Gatorade, go to the Heavener football complex, eat some of that delicious food, man. You got private chefs, cooking you really good food. Get your protein, drink your milk, keep your bones
Get your
healthy.
calcium, get them bones healthy.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, come on now. Come on, Devin. You're not trying to, hoof it anymore, trying to get your meal plan from, Rawlings or whatever the case might be. Like, come on, dude. No, but if Devin can stay healthy, I mean, great shape. 'Cause, I mean, he's got the hair game going. Now he's just get everything else to match. Dejon
He's
Johnson,
got the hair game going. I like it.
he does, man. He does. So the way I see that playing out there, you got Devin Moore, Dejon Johnson, and have you seen the report on Cormani this offseason, B?
Yeah. Cormani getting a little big in the weight room from what we're seeing, which is great news because he needed to put on some pounds.
He was toothpick thick, right? Now he goes from toothpick thick to boulders for shoulders. Just saying. Just saying. So
Love it.
and
Love it.
then Teddy was highly recruited coming in. Jameer highly recruited coming in, right? Bang Hands, obviously. But here's a guy that I think could come in and make immediate impact because he's got experience, came from a good system, and that's the transfer, Michael Caraway. So we'll see what happens with that.
Good call. I
Is it?
left Caraway out. That's a good call. I left him out.
Yeah, well, it's easy to do, right? You got all these pieces floating around
Yep.
everywhere, but no, I think he can come in. He's proven to be very good with quote unquote lockdown type corner. Again, we heard the same thing out of Cormani as he was highly recruited, right? So I think it's going to be a good thing overall. For me, when I look at this room, it's tough. It's tough to lose someone like Jason Marshall, 3.5+ years, almost finished out his career. Didn't miss a single game until the shoulder separation injury in Kentucky game, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's
Um,
correct.
yeah, but for me right now, I as Devin Moore is the big question mark as far as healthy goes, and I think you hit the nail on the head with Dijon. Dijon has all the attributes, the physicality. I hope he does not pull a Castells and regress in this year. So on that basis, I am putting the cornerback room as neutral.
All right. So neutral, slight bit weaker, similar. You know what's funny? There's a guy that left that was a very highly recruited player that we didn't even mention, and that's Jakeem Jackson. And I think the reason we didn't mention him is he looked decent as a freshman, and then all he did his sophomore year was come out and get absolutely cooked. He
And
looked
and that's why I just
terrible,
said, we love Hakeem.
absolutely cooked. I mean, just it was terrible. It was terrible. Honestly, I was glad he went down with the hammy so they stopped playing him. Not wishing for him to have injury, but just wanting to not see him on the field anymore, right? No, never wishing harm. Let me be clear in saying that. I wasn't glad he got hurt. I'm glad he couldn't play because I didn't want to see him out there just getting smoked every down anymore. I don't know what the deal was because, again, he looked decent as a freshman, looked like he had some pretty good skills, right? Looked kind of like living up to the bill of the recruit that he was. I, I don't know what happened. Like it's kind of like a Castell situation with the coverage. I don't know what went on in the offseason, but we went from decent coverage to what are you doing? Like that's how it felt. So pretty confusing there, and definitely, I wish Jakeem well. This is not any animosity against him, but it just did not look good on film last year for the 2 games we saw him before he went down with the hammy, and then obviously missed the rest of the season. So it is what it is on that one. Like that's pretty much where I'm at. I don't really have many other thoughts, but I did want to mention it because he was at least in theory, significant loss from that room. But I don't think he was that significant. Just being honest, not based on what we saw. Not based on what we saw. So, at any rate, let's move on. Let's talk offense. Get us started with some O line.
All right, on the O line, so the ever present, ever changing O line, not the
Yes,
O
though
face.
though less changing
O
than
line.
normal this season, which is nice.
Yeah, right. So this is unique for me because I think this is probably not just me, but I think for all of us, right? This is probably the most, how should I call it, stable O line we've seen in a
Long
while,
time. Long time.
maybe,
Have to go
right?
back quite a ways. I think have to go
We're
back to
talking.
almost pre-Mullen days.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking 8+years, 9+years,
Hmm.
maybe to see an O line like this. So check it out. Crenshaw Dixon, great. Okay, cool. Outside of that, look who we have returning, and I'm going to cite these here. Jake Slaughter, All SEC. Jake Slaughter
All
grew a lot.
American, all American Jake
All
Slaughter.
American. Thank you. grew a lot into that role the past 2 years, but last year really solidified the role as a top-notch center in the nation. Obviously, when you look at what happened before, he was played sporadically at center. Kingsley Ogakin, knee, ankle injuries, whatever. But Jake last year was I could formidably say the glue to that offensive line. Very solid. He's more than likely going to be backed up by O'Radrick O'Kearney, right? After
Yep.
that, we've got Austin Barber being backed up by Devin Manuel. Devin Manuel, if that name rings a bell, sporadic last year, but that was a transfer over from Arkansas. And Austin Barber, if he can stay healthy, if he can keep his wits about him, Austin's going to be great.
Yeah. Agreed.
Then outside of that, well, that's we project that as left tackle, right? Or left tackle,
Yes,
correct?
projected left for Austin, correct.
Okay.
That is
So,
projected as of now, barring a transfer of significance at that position, which I would
oh
not
yeah,
mind one bit, but nonetheless, barring a transfer at that particular position being left tackle, it should be Barber.
it should be right. Now let's go to left guard. Right, we have Nijah Harris, who came in
Yes,
last
indeed.
year, last fall. We saw some great things out of him. Great things. Very physical, very good. And then another name that I'm gonna throw out there is Jason Zandamela. Did I say that right?
Yes,
Zandamela.
you did.
Zandamela.
Zandamela, correct.
How about that? So he's going to be backing up Nijah over at the left guard position. So we've got some depth there. We have some size there. That's the other thing that's going to be important. Now, again, we'll get into this later, but the line is going to look so much different this year, knowing it's year two of DJ, more comfortable, the mobility. Typically, if you have a more mobile quarterback, less pressure on the line, right? So we'll see how that translates this year. Now let's move over to on the right side of the line. Let's go to right guard, Damian George.
Yep.
Welcome back.
Yes, indeed.
Someone went
Welcome
to the
back, Captain
portal.
Pancake.
Yeah, someone went to the portal and only spent what 4 days in the portal and said, oh, "Okay, I'm good. Yeah, y'all stay." Um, so Damian, welcome back. And I know we've talked about this a lot last year, but prefer him as a guard versus a tackle.
Yes, he was
Guard,
much better.
not tackle,
Much better.
all day long. And we got Bryce Lovett. Bryce Lovett, we've seen on film.
Yes, he
Saw some
looks
great
good.
things out of Bryce. So he's going to be a great backup. Let's go to right tackle, Cameron Waits. And
Yeah.
we got Fletcher Westfall. So Cameron, I expect Cameron to have a very big year. He's gotten so good on his feet, so good with his hips and turning. So that's going to be awesome. And then outside of that, you have some size as well. Not as much scar tissue, but you got some size as well. You've got Caden Jones back there waiting to get some reps. You've got Noel Portning waiting back there, waiting to get some reps, right? Out of
Portingen.
Germany.
I believe it's Portingen.
Bless you. Portingen, exactly, right? Then you've got Enoch Wangoy. I mean, this sounds like the United Nations Council, but no, these are all guys with size 6'4, 6'5, 6'6, 320 plus, great size and just ready. So this line, the most stable it's been in 8+ years, recognizable. There's scar tissue, there's continuity, there's a lot of glue compared to just one piece of glue last year. And so for me, this positional group is better, B. It's better.
Okay. So you left one out, or at least I think you left one out. I'm pretty sure I didn't hear Roderick Kearney's name.
Oh
And
yeah, I did.
that's going to be your backup at center or interior line, either or. And a really strong player, very highly recruited, probably the best, I think, of best offensive lineman recruit we've actually had since Napier's been here. And that's a kid that I think is going to see more snaps this year. I'm not exactly sure where yet, but I think he'll definitely be much more involved in the rotation. Um, Love some of your call outs there for some of the positions. I don't agree with you on Cam Waits. I am not sold on him at guard or at tackle at all. I think he is a guard, not a tackle.
Mm.
I think he is not going to be good. Let's think back to the Miami game last year and what that train wreck looked like when he was playing tackle, right? It was not good at all. Now he continued to play tackle, but he switched to a backup role real quick after the Miami game. And I think we all saw why. He was getting turned around like a turnstile in an airport. It was not good. It was not good at all. So I have questions about right tackle. Now, everything else you said, I agree with. I'm not going to go into the full detail, but you're absolutely right. Returning four starters is phenomenal, right? It's absolutely going to make us better. There's no question overall that I think this line has a lot of returning talent. Obviously, Slaughter. So, as per sportsgrid.com, Jake Slaughter is the number one returning offensive lineman at any position in the country, FYI. So, not familiar with Sports Grid, don't know their stats or anything else. However, anytime you get rated by a site as the number one returning offensive lineman in the country, it's probably not a bad thing. So that's just a little FYI on that one. Wanted to make sure to call out Jake for that because man, he's been really good. So really excited to get him back. As you mentioned, Barber, Harris, and George as well. All should be solid. I want to see us pick up somebody in the spring portal at right tackle. I'm not confident there. I like Fletcher Westfall as a prospect. He did not play hardly at all last year as a freshman. Not unexpected. Doesn't normally happen to play O-line at freshman in the SEC, right? It's just not common. I think he could do something there, but I don't think he has enough experience, possibly enough weight to get in over Waits. And I think Waits is likely your starter right now, and I don't love it. I'm not excited about it. Having said all that, I agree with you. Stronger. This is better than it was, despite the fact that we are missing a potentially key piece at right tackle. So jury's out. We'll see what happens. Portal's still open. Maybe Westfall steps up. There are options there, right? It's not a dead issue, but I am not excited to see Cam Wade start at that position come the end of August next season. I honestly don't want it to happen. We'll see if it does. We'll see if it doesn't. But I think last year, when you look at the line, the right side was the issue, right? At least to start. George proved out to be pretty good. Had some great blocks going down the stretch before he got hurt near the end of the season. So I have confidence there, and I like your call out of both Caden Jones and who's the other one you mentioned there at
Noel,
backup? No, it was the one before that. It's
Noel.
slipping. No, not Noel. Um,
Oh,
it's slipping my mind. Oh, Bryce Lovett. Really like Bryce
right.
Lovett there too. I think he's really going to be good. So I think we have lots of promise there. Again, interior, I'm not as worried about. It's that tackle position, and it's really a big question mark for me. We'll see where it goes. So to that end, let's move on. Let's talk tight end. So returning starters in all likelihood, certainly Hayden Hansen will be a starter. There's pretty much no question about that with how he blocks and how he can also get out for a pass as
Yep.
needed from DJ. I think he'll absolutely be a starter. And I think Tony Livingston is likely going to be your other starter when you see how he played in the last couple games of the season when Arliss's playing time dropped and then stopped completely in the last game there. So I think those are likely your starters. However, interested to see what happens with Amir Jackson. He should have the opportunity to get some reps here as well. But depth here is a little questionable. I don't know that we really have I know we have other guys on the roster, but I think those are going to be your three that have, the most significant impact. And that's assuming that Amir, can figure out how to block. Speaking of people that don't know how to block, losing Arliss is no small loss here, right? Losing Boardingham, despite the fact that he couldn't block Muggsy Bogues. It's really it's really not a great thing to lose a guy that's that athletic and that dynamic in the receiver role from tight end, right? So that is a loss. Even if he did only go to Bowling Green, I think there's no question that losing Arliss is a loss here. So I have this room slightly weaker than last season. So just slightly worse than where we were. And I think we'll still be fine here. We don't use the tight end a lot other than blocking, quite frankly. So I think we're going to be okay. But having said that, I think again, this is where we have the opportunity to do more offensively from a pass catching standpoint. And I don't know whether or not we're going to see that. Time will tell. What do you got on tight end?
So this is one that we're going to completely go opposite of.
Mm,
Uh, so
interesting.
we lost Arliss. Arliss is physical. Arliss is tall. Arliss, I agree with you, had some issues blocking, but also Arliss's attitude, I was not the biggest fan of. And
Okay.
when he was asked to block, he said he would block, but also I saw him whiff on a lot of blocks that again, my opinion, that I thought that could have easily been executed.
More
There's that
more
element
whiffs than a wiffle ball with golf.
Oh, fair. There you go. There you go. So for me, is Arliss a loss? Yes, in the sense of the offense and the scheme. But outside of that, what did he really do in the blocking? Did he really help to execute those blocks, to seal the edge, to do what he needed to do to spring a running back or
No,
spring a screen pass or no? And so,
no,
believe it or not,
he got turned around more than Cam Waits did. In fact, he didn't really get turned around. He just whiffed, like you said. So yeah,
right. And so that was the issue I had. And seeing some of his body language at times, I just, he, out of all the tight end, again, I'm just talking tight ends here, he was the one who hung his head the most. And it was a shame because from a physical standpoint, he's a specimen of a dude.
yeah,
He's
for
got
sure.
it. But looking to Hayden Hansen, let's see if he grows his hair out anymore. He'll resemble Thor, maybe, trying to target some of that, and that's cool. I dig it. Hayden, 6'5", 6'6", lengthy, big range, 7-foot wingspan. I dig it. Tony Livingston caught a pass in the Gatsby Bowl. Awesome for him. The pride of Tampa, where he's coming from. So that's awesome there. I think Tony's got some great physical abilities, got a really good attitude about him. Amir Jackson has the opportunity to come in, and if he can be as physical as we saw him in some games last year, he has the opportunity to play and earn his way in. And of course, who I'm going to call our Moneyball kid, Cameron Kosman. Again, 2-star, Chesterfield, Missouri. Is he going to see anything? Not really. But at 6'7", 242 pounds, I want to see that frame on the field. I want to see what he can do. So maybe we have a really awesome game. Maybe we're ahead by 4 scores, end of third quarter. Tom Petty's blasting. Coming into the fourth, we see Cameron make an appearance. So different things like that. But for me, this room is better.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, we definitely do see that one differently. I think regardless of Arliss's attitude, and you're not wrong about it. But at the end of the day, when you look at production on the field, especially if you go back a season, right, and look back at 2023 instead of 2024 season, I mean, Arliss was great, right? I mean, we don't the biggest loss with Arliss is you don't get to say Arliss Boardingham on the pod anymore, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
you're right.
that's a terrible loss. It's just a terrible loss. But no, I think to your point, and it is worth mentioning because we don't use these guys in the passing game probably as much as we should, but because we don't, and we'll leave the offensive coordination comments alone tonight. I promise I won't get into it too much. I am gonna have a little knock when we get to quarterback, but not bad. But we'll leave it alone for the most part. But when you look at it, we don't use these guys in the passing game that much. They're much more involved in blocking. So you make a valid point there. So if you have better blockers, maybe this room is upgraded, and I'm willing to concede that that's possible with again how we use them in this scheme, right? So I think there is a valid point to be made there. I'm sticking with my take. I still think
I
you
got
lose
you.
that kind of athleticism, but your point is taken, and I don't think it's off the reservation certainly. So to that end, let's move on. Let's talk wide receiver. Go for it.
Wide receiver, aka weapons. So let's see. Who are we losing? We are losing a significant amount of production out of
Yeah,
Badger
just a little.
and Shim DK.
Yeah, we are.
Badger,
Miss you guys.
miss you. That's the thing, right? 1 year as a Gator and already was top 10 in the country for passing yards as far as the long passing
Yards per
completion.
reception. Yards per
Yards per
reception.
reception. Thank
Yep.
you. I can talk
Yep.
really, people.
You
I
can. You
promise.
can. You
Um,
can.
yeah. So and Shim was right there with him. These two guys, phenomenal. They were great targets, great route runners, great hands, great footwork, great people, just great people.
Yeah.
What are we looking,
Solid guys for sure.
right? 100% great people. What are we looking to coming into the fall here? Well, at the end of the day, we've got Eugene Wilson the third, aka Tricky Trey, coming back from hip surgery. My hope is that at hip is surgically repaired, he's able to rehab it, and he is going to be good to go and be up to his tricky, shifty self. So we got Trey. Backing up Trey, we got Tank. Tank's fast, period. Want
Thanks,
to see him
fast.
run some routes, want to see him go downfield. And he's proven to have great hands too. So, hey, you
Agreed.
couple great hands with track like speed, we're good there. The other wide receivers, we're looking at Aiden Mizell, who Aiden showed us a thing or two or 10 last
Yes, he did.
fall, backed up by someone else coming off of surgery, ACL surgery last year, Khalil Jackson, who will be a senior this year. And then my third group of wide receivers, I'm going to break it down to the transfer, J. Michael Sturdivant. And then backing him up, I have, believe it or not, Dallas Wilson. And so we'll
It's a
see what happens.
possibility.
Yeah, with Vernell, Dallas has some size over Vernell, right? There's a little bit more there, but either way, we do have Vernell Brown still back there. Again, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, true freshman signing to this class. Real excited, but either way, the bottom line is we have weapons. We lost a lot in Badger and a lot in DK. Trey's got to get his conditioning back. We know what Trey can do, but with a surgically repaired hip, will he be the same? Will he be better? Will he be the $6 million wide receiver? Don't know, right?
Yeah, hard to
So
say. Hard to say.
it is. So you're losing that, and I want to say better because of the weapons, because of the speed, but we also know vertical passing concepts. We know some other things. So for me, as much as I want to say better, I'm going to put the wide receiver room as neutral. What do you
I
got?
like it. I like it. Similar take. So
Oh,
I think Trey coming back could be so similar take on the rating, but I'm gonna focus a little more on Trey here. I think him coming back could be pivotal, along with the solid add of Jermichael Sturdivant, or as Billy called him, J Mike. Um, so
mhm.
uh, I think those two could really end up being your strengths here at kind of X and or no, X is the slot, sorry, at Y and X.
Why?
So
Mhm.
um so I think those two could really end up being the strengths here. I think it's kind of wide open who's going to be the Z when we actually have three receivers on the field. Um
Oh,
I think it's a little wide open who's going to play that position right now. I don't think we really know. I think your favorite would probably be Aiden. However, I don't think that it's a known commodity at all that it will be him. And perhaps Khalil gets back in the mix there. Um, I I don't think he should. I love Khalil Jackson. I think he's got a ton of heart. I feel terrible that he got hurt the way he did last year. I don't think he has the talent to play in this room. That's just my take. Call me a little harsh there. I don't know, but I just trying to keep it real, right? And maybe this is when keeping it real goes wrong. I don't know. We'll find out. But regardless of that, I think to me, I want to see Mizell step up into a bigger role, as I mentioned. And I love the incoming freshman, as you mentioned, whether it's Brown or Wilson or possibly both. I think we really have something here. But I think it's funny that you mentioned and you called out Tank. I think Tank's your sleeper. Not just because of the speed, but because DJ said last year that Tank is his boy. That's his guy. If you're all everything quarterback as a receiver who's his guy, my guess is he's going to see the field a little more as a sophomore. Maybe that changes. Maybe some different dynamics develop. But as of right now, I'm going to pick my sleeper at receiver to be Tank Hawkins. I think he could really have a breakout year this year. Obviously, again, that speed is just world class. I mean, there's just no other way to describe it. So we'll see what happens. I'm with you. I think this is level with last season. I think it's neutral, whatever you want to call it, level neutral. Um, despite the departures, which they're significant departures, we lost our number 1 and 2 receiver, but I think we're okay here. I can't say, despite the talent, that we get better, like you said, but I don't think it's worse because there is just still a ton of talent in this room. Hats off to Mr. Gonzalez. But having said that, he does need to develop Trey in this season going in, right? He does need to develop the other younger guys that are in this room. That's absolutely a thing that we need to see happen. And quite frankly, I think we will. If you look at Billy historically, meaning Gonzalez, not Napier, if you look at him historically, his strength is coaching up players, not recruiting them. So his recruits have been off the charts. So if he can develop those guys up, I mean, that's just significant. There's no two ways about it. So we'll see what happens there. All right, moving on. Let's talk running backs. This is a little bit of an interesting one for me. Ball and Jackson returning is huge, obviously. And add in promising freshmen. in Waltez Clark and Byron Lewis, and I think you've got a heck of a room. However, there's a wild card, and that wild card is Trayon Webb. What happens with Webb? I don't know. He's going to come back off injury. And does this staff, as much as I love Jabbar Jaluke, phenomenal running back coach, I have seen him have the propensity, to prioritize seniority. That's a lot of three-syllable words there, but he does have the propensity to do that for sure. Some more than three syllables, but just saying. Does he prioritize the seniority of one Trayon Webb? Because if he does, I think it's a mistake. I don't think he's your best player there. I think he absolutely has a spot in the depth piece of things, but I just don't see it as being the guy who should certainly be a starter. I cannot see that, and I really don't even want to see him being second in the rotation. I think that's got to be Jackson, based on the performances that you saw last year, and that's assuming that Baugh is the starter, which he better be. Because if Jaden's not your starter, I'm gonna fight somebody. So now, spring ball could change my mind on all that. Perhaps we see Trayon come back and really do great things, right? Really have, impressive showing or whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, I don't know that he is going to be able to produce like the other two guys we've seen produce in that room previously. So, having said that, I've got this room as even or level, right? Neutral once again, as we did with wide receiver, even with the loss of Montrell, which is obviously significant. But that's my take on running back. Where you at? What you got?
Good take. I'll take it. How do you replace a Montrell Johnson?
It's difficult for sure, no question.
Oh, I thought I was referring to myself as Coach Herman Boone there, and remember the Titans. You cannot replace a Gary Bertier.
Very good, very good. I love the reference.
Sorry, I had to. But here's the thing. I can see why you say neutral. I get it, but after what we saw out of Jaden and Jacoby last year, that should be a podcast. Jaden, Jacoby, and then Trayon coming back, and then KD came in out of nowhere.
I think it is. I think it is a podcast. Isn't it a podcast? No, it's Jalen. It's Jalen and Jacoby. You're very close. It's not a podcast. It's a show on ESPN, or it used to be.
Got you. Okay.
So you're real close. Good job.
Got you. Okay, here. Thank you very little, ESPN. You're welcome for the plug. No, but
exactly.
And then Kenny Daniels comes in and goes, "Hey guys, what about me? I can run the ball too. I'm dynamic. I'm fast. I'm quick. I'm shifty." So again,
I didn't even mention Caden. Caden.
It's okay. I got you. Montrell, great person. According to Coach Napier, when he first saw him at Louisiana years ago, he took out his little pencil and marked a little check and said, "That's a dude. That's a dude right there. That's a dude." And he is a dude. But I'm telling you, when we have a four-headed monster like what, and not to mention bringing in the freshman Brian, I am so excited for running back because I feel like it is going to be a squad to be reckoned with. So that's why, for me, the running back room is better. It is better.
Wow. Better without Montrell.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I know. I have
my thoughts on Trell, right? We talked about it preseason.
Yeah.
My concerns with him getting the lion's share of the carries and his lack of overall, call it dynamic ability, right?
Sure.
Certainly he can run smart. He runs well. He runs powerfully. But his lack of dynamics in the open field really concerned me last season. Turned out not to be a significant factor. Obviously, he unfortunately got hurt, and Jaden stepped up, and we got all the dynamics we wanted in the backfield with that guy. But, I'm shocked that you can have this stronger without Montrell. I really am. I felt like I was pushing it, calling it neutral. All right. Hey, fair enough. Your take is your take. Last but not least, lead us into QB. Let's talk.
What are we losing? We are losing a field general. We're losing a great leader. We're losing someone who, again, despite the abilities or lack of abilities, And I know he spent more time in Wisconsin, but for all intents and purposes, he was a Gator through and through. He gave the Swamp all he had, the best he could do, and continues to do great things off the field. We know who came in last year. We know whose team it is this year. And we know who your favorite DJ is. Period. Period. So Lagway is going to be backed up by Harrison Bailey. Harrison Bailey, if you remember that name from a podcast or two ago, transfer by way of Tennessee, by way of UNLV, by way of Louisville. Um, Again, he's got some scar tissue. He's got some great things going on. And after that, we've got Tremel Jones, the true freshman out of Mandarin. And somewhere in there, we have Aiden Warner and Clay Millen. No disrespect to Aiden, great kid. There's a reason why he was enrolled at Yale. Um, he just looked like a deer in headlights. Georgia game, Texas game. Bless his heart. He can only do so much, right? But that's what we say down here in the South, right? Bless his heart. We're going to see what happens with DJ's second year in the offense. It's his team. My hope is that the hamstring's healed. He's stronger. He's more decisive. He's going to cut down on some of those, again, minor mistakes that was done. And let's not forget, folks, 6-1. 6-1. Can we say 6-1? In that one game, he didn't even finish. You know what we're referring to, the Georgia game. And so as I look at what this is going to be, I don't know how we improve upon last year, other than the fact that knowing that Graham's not going to be there at all. Not just because he's injured, he's not there, period. But Lagway had a great example in Graham to continue those leadership principles, to go about his work the right way. With the introduction of Bailey, that's the thing. If Lagway were to go down, I'm not saying Bailey's Lagway. No, he's not. But at the end of the day, he's got a lot of scar tissue. He's passed for almost 2,400 yards in his career. He's seen some things. He's mobile enough. And not to mention, he was originally recruited by Mr. Heupel over at Tennessee. So he's got some abilities. And so for me, I'm going to put this quarterback room right now, the way it stands, compared to last year, I'm going to put it as better because of the depth. Because clearly with Aiden last year, again, no disrespect to him, there was no depth. There was no other option. DJ had to come back. He didn't have time to have that hamstring heal the right way. He had to come back on the field. And this year, there is significant more depth around that. So that's why I'd say this QB room is better this year than last year, mainly because of the depth factor. What do you got, B?
I like it. I like the take, and it's interesting on the depth. I'm going to go a different way. I agree with you that the depth is better, but I don't think that's the reason that the room should be better. So, last but not least here, right? Last one on the agenda. Clearly, DJ is primed to have an impressive sophomore campaign. I think that kind of goes without saying at this point, that it's highly likely that that's what we end up with, or maybe not highly likely, but that's the anticipation, right? However, he must improve in reading at least certain defenses. He reads defenses overall fairly well, but there's certain ones that give him a little bit of trouble. And assuming that he does that, and then also assuming that he makes less mistakes once he does read them properly, then we should see an improvement here. But if he doesn't, if you look at the passing game here and the regular cadence with which our lack of dynamics is there to get the deep ball downfield, right? Making those home run plays to make up for mistakes is just not necessarily going to be something that you're able to do. That's just the nature of what we're looking at based on the film that's now been out there on DJ, and of course the film that has been out there for quite some time on Napier. Ultimately, I think that's really what you're looking at, is that we're not necessarily going to see this ability to just chuck it all over the field like we would all like to. That's my take right now. Hope I'm wrong, but that's what it seems is likely. So, having said that, I agree with you on the depth pieces, adding Harrison Bailey, adding Tremel Jones, keeping Warner and Millen on the bench. And I don't know that both of them end up staying as actual scholarship guys, but maybe they do. It's solid. The depth of position is better. There's no question about it. However, if DJ does not improve the way we think he could, should, will, right? I think those things happen. But if I'm wrong and he doesn't, right? If some of those defenses continue to give him fits, if he continues to make some of those mistakes that, he needs to improve upon, quite frankly, then this room is not better. It's actually slightly worse. That's my take. It all comes down to DJ, right? That's and no surprise. But at the end of the day, I'm not just going to give him the pass that he's absolutely going to be a better quarterback. He should be. In all indications are he will be. I'm not saying I think he won't be, but if he is not, this room is not better than it was. It just isn't. Now, if he is better, then yes, it is better as a whole. Correct, without question. Hard to say it couldn't be. But if he does not make the steps and take those changes in the offseason, then yeah, I think we're actually slightly worse off than we were, which we weren't necessarily spectacular at that room last year. So I think, though obviously better once he came in. But overall, I think overall the room takes a little bit of a hit if he does not make some progression in this season. Which again, I don't predict that. I'm not saying I think that happens, but we have to account for the possibility. So that's all I'm doing. So don't chop my head off because I don't think Lagway is the greatest thing ever. But I do think he could be the greatest thing ever. Absolutely. I just need to see a little more in terms of some of the consistency and things of that nature. By the way, quick aside, Florida is up 25 with 13:09 to play in the second against Oklahoma at home. Wow. That is a team with a winning record, and we are destroying them. So just want to throw that out there, and more than a winning record, 16-9. Yes, quick sidebar. So moving along, I think that wraps us up. And I think it should, because I think we're right about an hour, maybe a little hour and change here. So I think we're good. So our next regularly scheduled pod will be March 4th, where we will be doing a review of the coaching and staff changes that we have seen, as well as previously mentioned, and aside with some Gator basketball thrown in there. So we'll talk a little more detail about these very, very impressive Gators on the hardwood. So to that end, thanks to everybody, as always, for taking the time to listen. We really appreciate it. As always, it has been our pleasure to bring it to you, and we hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Randy to give some final thoughts and sign us off.
Yeah, man. Great opportunity. I enjoy doing the better worse neutral because it gets us poised for some upcoming pods. Looking at the season preview, the spring game coming up, of course, in a couple months, and so really enjoyed going through this and taking a look at these positional groups because it's so tough sometimes when you're looking at, are we really objectively better? And of course, a lot of opinion thrown in there, but again, trying to look at the data, trying to look at the personnel. So great opportunity to take a look at that. Gator Nation, thanks for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to bringing you the next one. But in the meanwhile, wherever you are and wherever you may be listening, thanks for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.